So on everybody on Canvas, I'm going to have this up on the screen so that way you can see what I see and you can navigate the same way that I do. So we're at the point of the semester where we are transitioning from geography into world history. Yeah, all right, sweet. So what that means that things do change as far as the format goes for this class. So I'll walk you through some of the changes and help you navigate in Canvas for some very important locations, and I want to make sure everybody knows where to go when I say this is where I put the assignment or this is where your textbook is and that type of thing. So for world history or the early civilizations that we're about to jump into, we are no longer using your geography book. So as far as I'm concerned, that book can go hide in your locker until May, and then you need to bring that back in May. I am planning for most of you to use the digital PDF textbook that I have in Canvas. However, if any of you would prefer to have a hardcover regular textbook, I do have them in the closet so you can see me later, and I'd be happy to give you a copy. Guys, don't make me regret leaving you there. So we are only going to get through about 5 or 6 chapters of that textbook, and it is a really thick book. So I'm trying to save you a little bit of extra weight, but if you'd like to have one maybe to take home and keep at home, especially if you just do better with a typical textbook, I have no problem and I will get you one. So from our home page, I want you to go to the module section so that I can point out a couple of things here in the modules. So as you look at each of the modules here, you can see all the different units. Actually, you probably can't because some of these I have disabled since they were from first semester. But you can see the ones we've done this semester, Africa, Asia, and so on, all the way down here to Early Civilizations Unit 1. So I have provided for you a couple of resources already, and as needed, I will include additional resources. If I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to present, then I will typically put that in the resources section here in the module. So I will provide a copy of my slides to you. I will talk more about note-taking when we get to that next class. But for today, when those resources are there, typically those are helpful tools for you to use for this semester. When we open up, this is Chapter 1, the textbook PDF. And so if I click on that link, it will open up a preview of that file. Now, you can just leave it as a preview and just read your textbook this way, or you can download your own copy to your computer, and now you will have a permanent copy on your computer anytime that you open up your files. You do not have to be connected online to get this copy, but you must click on this link here to download it. And once you download, you need to know where you save it. So if you do not already have a file that says early civilizations or geography, I would highly recommend that you do so. So for instance, this is, I guess you can't see it too well because I can't zoom in on this. So this is one of my file systems, and I create a new folder for Chapter 1 in this particular unit here. Let me back up just a little bit. Okay, so I have world history. This is actually for a different class I taught in the past. But I have different chapters and a folder for every chapter. So that way I know how to get to the Chapter 1 textbook file. And any notes that I take are going to go in that Chapter 1 file. So I would highly recommend that you do something similar. If you don't know how to do that, please come see me. I'd be more than happy to help you through that. It is the same type of organization that we do with a pocket folder or a 3-ring notebook, but now we're doing it on our computers. You have to know where your files are. So save your textbook. If you want to have an offline copy, save that PDF. Otherwise, you do need to access the internet to get to this if it's not downloaded to your computer. Okay, so any questions on the textbook? So it's just scanned in PDF copies of your book. And again, we do have hard copy books here if you want them. I'm going to skip over this 3-2-1 strategy PDF for right now. That is something we'll come back to a little bit later. Our homework and quiz and test will be categorized in here as well. And so we're going to take a look at today's homework assignment, and providing I can get you through all this, I'll give you time at the end to get started on it. Have any of you done discussion boards on Canvas before in a different class? Some of you did last year on Canvas? Cool. So for many of you, you've never done this before, so this is like our first trial practice run. So when you go into the assignment, it's going to show up like you see up on the screen. It's going to say World History Chapter 1.1 Reading Discussion. So I give you instructions here. It says read Chapter 1, Section 1, and follow the 3-2-1 reading strategy to assist in completing the discussion post. For this assignment, I told you not to upload the document, but follow the guidelines below. So the 3-2-1 reading strategy is something that we may use other times, where I'll actually have you fill out that PDF. For this one, I have modified it slightly because I wanted you to do it a little bit differently. So here's what you're going to do. As you read through, you're going to find 3 new things that you discovered as you read that section. And for each item that you discover, I want you to write a short explanation that helps provide better understanding, relevance, and context. Okay? Here's an example of that. So I put here a bulleted point. 3 things I discovered after reading Chapter 1, Section 1. Number 1, I learned that Mr. Jones loves donuts. Okay, that's my new thing that I learned. Apparently you're reading my biography. So here's my description underneath that main point. While reading about the life of Mr. Jones, I discovered that much evidence supports his love for donuts by his enthusiasm for the delicacy. I also noticed that Mr. Jones often uses donuts in his illustrations and frequently brings coffee to pair with his donuts. Now, I may have been a little more wordy than what you would be, but do you now have a better understanding of the context of your initial sentence? I learned that Mr. Jones loved donuts. Great. What about it? That's what you're answering here in your descriptive sentence below. I did 2 other ones. I'll let you read those on your own to try to give you an example of the 3 things you discovered as you read. Now, second section is you're going to find 2 things that you'd like to investigate and compare with a biblical view of creation. So this chapter is going to go all the way back to the early parts of civilization. Our textbook is not written from a biblical worldview. So therefore, what does that mean when you are reading it? Who wrote it? Who wrote our textbook? Okay, well, we don't know that for sure. Okay, humans wrote it. What is their worldview? Probably going to have some evolution viewpoint in there. Do you think any Christians wrote it? We don't know, but it's definitely not written from a biblical worldview because of the fact that it does include some of the evolutionist ideas. So because it's not written by a Christian vantage point, that's where I want you to look at some of the stuff you read and put in here 2 things you'd like to continue to investigate, or where you, as you read through, you say, man, that doesn't really sound like what I've been taught or what I think the Bible says. So 2 things there you'd like to investigate, and those do not need descriptions, but those should be in full sentences. So 2 things I'd like to investigate further from my example of Mr. Jones' biography. I'd like to know more about Mr. Jones' spiritual background because the text does not fully develop much about his spiritual upbringing. Okay? So you give me a full sentence on something you'd like to investigate further. You can read the second one on your own if you'd like to. And then the third section here, I want you to come up with 1 question, if you have one, that you would like to have answered. So this one is not required, but this is giving you an opportunity as you read through, if there's something that you don't understand or you need further explanation, this should help you remind yourself to raise your hand in class and to ask Mr. Jones, hey, why did the book say this? Or did this really happen? And that way it'll help in our classroom conversation. If you don't have a question or you seem to understand everything, feel free to leave this one off. You don't have to include one. I'm not going to force you to come up with a question for this time. Other times I might. But for this time, if you seem to understand it, book explains it clearly, you got a good grasp on it, then I'm not going to require the third one on there. So my question that I still have is, why is Mr. Jones making us go all through all this? And hopefully that will serve as an example for you. Okay, so when you upload this, it is a little bit different when you are in a discussion board format. So there's no upload button here. Okay, there is a reply button. Reply means that you are responding to my initial post here, and you are going to write in your information. Now at this point, you should not be able to see anybody else's post until you post something. So I can see it because I'm the teacher, and so I can see that Colin's already put in something in there. Once you submit yours, now you'll be able to view and read anybody else's. For this first assignment today, I'm not going to require that you respond to any other posts. We will get to that next time we come together. I will have you do some responses, but I just want you to get familiar with the discussion board panel, how to submit. Come to me if you have any questions, or email me if you have any questions on how to submit this assignment. So my recommendation is that when I say go here in a few moments and I give you the opportunity to start working on this, that you do not hit reply and start typing into Canvas. Because if you run out of time, what happens to that assignment? It's gone. Thanks, Micah. It's gone. You don't get it back. So I would recommend that you type into Word or Google Docs so that you can save it, and then when it's time to submit and you finish it, copy your text, hit reply in Canvas, paste your text into Canvas. Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody have any questions? You are just following the criteria, and you are going to make